Let's see. Oh, we're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. Okay. Welcome to Murray's Law. I am attorney LaConya Murray, your lovely host. And Murray's Law is our live question answer session that we do live in MARKEDlegal. You're going to notice a little bit of a change. So we have rebranded the Genius Lounge to MARKEDlegal because we want to expand the knowledge that we're sharing beyond just what I know, right? I believe in everyone operating their realm of genius. And I also believe that entrepreneurs need access to the legal information that they normally don't have so they can make informed decisions in their business. So we're expanding the platform and expanding the information by inviting guest people in. But every second Monday, I know this is the third Monday, we're going to get into that. For every second Monday of the month at 7 p.m., we go live to answer the questions that were submitted. And we have a lot of questions because we have not been here since June. Summer vacation, kids had to take a pause for the calls. I want to just say a shout out to Shalene and Kimberly for joining us live inside of MARKEDlegal. Get my face closer to the iPad. I think we had the same problem when we met in Vegas, my iPad not wanting to recognize my face. Yeah. There it is. There it is. So we have a lot of things to go over today. There's been so much going on in the legal world. And I just want to take some of that and explain so that you can understand how it relates to your business. And then, of course, some people just had some questions. So we're going to jump into it. And while we're doing this, if we have time, you can drop your questions in the comments and I will get to those questions. And so the first question, signing back in, like everything kicked me out and made me reboot and restart. So I'm redoing all of the things. And here we go. All right. So the first question is, oh, this is a really good question. So, the trademark symbol, we talk about the trademark symbol all of the time when there's three different things that you can use to indicate a trademark or a service mark. So the first thing that you can use is the TM symbol. That TM symbol stands for trademark, and you put it next to a good that is not a registered trademark, because in the United States, your trademark protections begins when you use it. So you can use that TM to indicate to people that, hey, this is our trademark. It might not be registered yet. We might be going through the process, whatever our case may be, but this is our trademark. Then you have the SM that stands for service mark. So a provider like myself would use the SM for unregistered service mark to identify an unregistered service mark. And then once it's registered, whether it's a trademark or a service mark, it turns into an R, the circle on it. And so the question is, what do we do? Where do we put these initials? Where do we put them? Okay, you can put them, if you have your trademark, you can put it to the top right. I wish I could, my board's too junky, but you can put it over here. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'm going to use this here, this lovely brochure that has our new logo on it, right? So if we were going to put the trademark symbol anywhere, we will put it over here in the right corner next to this M at the top. Or you can put it down at the lower right next to the M. Or you can put it next to the side, just make it parallel. So upper, lower, parallel. Y'all got that? My fingers upper, lower, parallel. That's where you can put that trademark symbol. Great question. Again, with the face. Okay, let's move on to the next question. If I can unlock my iPad. All right, that was a really great question. Ooh, so earlier we talked about, because Beyonce released an album, what, maybe 2 weeks ago now? I don't know. But there was a little bit of drama around that. Police said that Beyonce basically was a thief for not informing her that they were using her sample on one of her tracks. Now, Khalees, as we talked about, does not have any ownership rights in the track, so Beyonce's team did not have to reach out to her. But she just felt like common, like artist courtesy, that someone should have just gave her a heads up that this would be on her album. Well, long story short, Beyonce removed her from the album. Now, keep in mind that prior to that, Khalees was not getting any money for the song because she doesn't have any ownership rights, any writer's credits, nothing, right? But when I posted this on Instagram, someone had a good question. And so they were trying to make sense of it. And they said they wanted to know if it was similar to if they had a framework for something that they taught, a framework for it. And someone decided to use that framework in their own course. Would that be similar to what was going on? And what if that person that used the framework gave them credit, said, this is not my framework, this is, such and such framework. And so what I had to explain was there's a difference between copyrights and plagiarism, right? When we're talking about giving credit, making sure that someone knows that you're not the original author, we're talking about plagiarism. And plagiarism really doesn't have anything to do with copyrights, right? Because you can give someone credit all day. Matter of fact, people do give folks credit all day long. You will see someone post on an Instagram or a Facebook post, right? I don't own the rights to this music. This is me holding up a sign. I don't know why I'm holding up a sign, because that's what it's like when they say I don't own the rights to this music. It's like, hey, I'm stealing. This is not mine. That's what I always see when I see that. So they're letting you know that they didn't write this. This is not their music. So they're not trying to plagiarize it like it's theirs. But the challenge with that is it's still a copyright infringement, because the copyright owner has the right to display, has the right to display or tell and give permission for other people to display, distribute, perform, all these different rights. And so giving someone credit doesn't have anything to do with those rights. Does that make sense? So you can give them credit for being, my dog's doing something crazy. You can give them credit all day long for being the owner and the creator of this framework, but if they didn't give you permission to use it in your course, it's copyright infringement. It's copyright infringement. So that's the difference between plagiarism and copyright. Plagiarism is more like giving credit, making sure that no one's trying to say that you wrote something that you didn't write. Where copyrights have to do with the specific rights that are given to the copyright owner so that they can have a say over how their work is handled in the future. And essentially, so these artists can make money. And you as a business owner, because we have different copyrights as business owners, we don't really think about it that way, but your sales copy. I know one time someone reached out to me because they worked at a car dealership. True story. They work at a car dealership. And he said, I wrote this great letter and I know it's good because I've seen other people trying to use it. And it was a sales letter. And so what did we do? We registered it as a copyright and then sent a cease and desist letter. Because his sales copy, your sales copy, when you go and you write this long sales page, that's copyright. Your courses, your workbooks, your podcast, all those things are copyrights that can be protected. So really great. I just wanted to clear that up. Really great question. And, kids. Yeah, so that was another really good question. And you guys can start dropping your questions now in the chat, simply because I think we're going to have a little bit of time, but let's see what the next question is. Actually, I think that was the last question. We had those 3 questions. Oh, so the other question was, what did Beyonce removing Khalees from her sample, what did that do for Khalees? Well, because Khalees didn't have any copyright ownership in it. And I don't know if the writing giving her the credit is going to give her any points so that she can actually get paid every time the song is played. But if that was the case, now she's not getting anything. So we know she's not getting anything from her previous work because what's the guy name who doesn't age? Pharrell and Neptune, they actually own the rights to all that, even though they didn't write a thing, which is why contracts are important, people. Not only are contracts important, I'm trying to, here we go, view, make sure I'm here. Not only are contracts important, but it's also very important that when you're entering into a business relationship with someone and they give you a contract, you have your own person review that contract. Don't ever just rely on the person that's giving you the contract to give you the breakdown or their attorney to look out for your best interest, because the attorney is looking out for the best interest of their client. So you need someone to look into the best interest of you. And I know that it happens, especially when you're young, especially when you're just starting out. And that's not just in the music industry too. It's also in business. I know that I wrote an article a few years ago about this really popular video gamer, because who knew that you can make a whole lot of money playing video games? You can make a lot of money playing video games. And so he was getting really popular on the channels, and he entered into this contract, and the contract gave all these rights to the agency. Well, once he started making some money and getting really popular, he realized that this is not the best contract for me to be in. And now he's going to social media and being, he's been taken advantage of, but you signed the contract. So make sure that you're not so eager for the opportunity that you just sign anything. Let's see, we got a good question. Oh, here's a good question. 2 great questions coming directly from MARKEDlegal. Is it okay to use TM if you offer service and product, or do you have to use SM for service and TM for product? That's the first question. You can use TM. People still get the point. Most people use TM anyway. Even if they're doing services, they still put the TM there. Second question is it okay to use the TM while you're waiting on approval? That's the perfect time to use it. And you can use it even before you actually submit your application for registration. It is literally letting people know that you have a common law interest in this brand identifier, whether it's a name, a logo, a slogan, or anything of that nature. It's letting people know that, hey, this is not just some cute phrase or name we came up with. This is actually identifying the source of a good or a service. Remember, that's what trademarks do. So if it's identifying the source of a good or a service in your business, then yes, you can use that TM or SM symbol, even if it's not registered, even if you haven't applied for that trademark yet. Now let's just talk about that just for a second, because now people are like, well, if the protection starts from the time I start using it in commerce, and I can use one of these symbols to identify to the public that it's a trademark, why do I need to invest in a federally registered trademark? Great question. And the reason that you want to identify or invest in a federally registered trademark is because your protection is limited to your geographical area when you don't have a federally registered trademark. If we go back to pop culture, right? Kim Kardashian and her skin brand she has a whole lot of things that she's doing it with, but one of the things is beauty products. And this young entrepreneur out of New York who has she doesn't have a product line. She has a esthetician business, I believe. And she's been using a name that's very similar to what Kim is using. Now, on top of the fact that the name is something that's very common for that industry. The fact of the matter is the young lady did not have a fairly registered trademark, so her protection is literally limited to how she uses it and where she uses it. So you want to make sure, especially if you have plans to expand, to create products, to serve clients outside of where you are, that you get that fairly registered trademark. Let's see. Next question. How do you copyright your class materials? Okay, we place the copyright symbol on our materials, but is there a formal process? We have tons of class materials. Great question. So you register so again, copyrights like trademarks, when it becomes in a fixed tangible form, you have that copyright. The challenge with the copyright, the common law copyright, is that if someone was to infringe on your copyright, they can't sue you. You can't sue them, I'm sorry. You can't sue them for infringement unless you have a fairly registered copyright, because copyrights are enacted by federal government. So that's number one. So it's good that you have that copyright symbol to let everyone know that, hey, this is copyrighted material. But what you want to do is either within 3 months of you creating the copyrighted material or before the infringement, you want to register it at copyright.gov. And there is an entire process, and that's something that we can help you with as well. Or if you are a DIYer, if you go to MARKEDlegal, there's a course. There's a course that's on sale right now that walks you through the trademark and the copyright process. It goes beyond the basics and actually says, I'm sharing my screen and walking you through how to file that. But if you are a Genius Insider member, you get those services, our services, 50% off. So just let us do it. We'll handle it. Next question. What do you do when your name is used as a hashtag, but you're waiting on the trademark? How do you deal with that? Great. Y'all coming through with these questions today. I love it. So this is what you need to know about hashtags. Unless the hashtag is being used to identify the source of a good or a service, it is not a trademark. It's not a trademark. So people can use the hashtag, but them using the hashtag is not infringing on your trademark unless, and when I say using the hashtag, I'm assuming that you mean like in the captions, when people are doing captions and they put that all the different, you get up to like 50 or 100 hashtags. That's what I'm assuming. But if they, for instance, let's go back to our handy dandy brochure. Keep it in my hand. Let's say, for instance, on their marketing material, now they have like hashtag, off the mark, right? And they're using it as it relates to the same services or similar services that you're using it for. Now that is a problem. Then that's a problem. So the hashtag itself, used in the traditional sense, is not a infringement, but once they start using it to identify the source of their good or services, like in the marketing material and things of that nature, then that's when you send the cease and desist letter. And you can send the cease and desist even while you're waiting on your trademark to be approved. Great questions. Any more questions? I love it. Let's see. Looking at the Instagram. I don't see anything on the Instagram, on the Instagram. How old am I? Sounding like somebody's grandmother. And I'm not, so I don't have any messages, and I just said that. So let me just tell y'all real quick. You know that I went to see my daughter perform live last Friday, and everybody thought I was her sister. And I was like, thank you, honey. Appreciate that. But no, I just thought that was funny. Let's see. No more questions here. Ooh, great question. How long does the copyright and the trademark last? Love it. So the copyright lasts for, if it was created after 1970, it lasts for 70 years after the death of the author. If it is a person, if the author is a person, but if the author is a corporation, it lasts 120 years. And let's talk about author real quick. So the author is the person that brings the copyright to life. It's not the person that paid for it or thought of it. It's the person that brings it to life, meaning it's the person that you hired to design your logo. That's an independent contractor, right? They own the rights to that logo unless they assigned it to you. But because they created it, they are the author of that. You might be the owner of the copyright, but they are still the author. Got it? Great question. And the trademark, let's see. And the trademark lasts, so trademarks are a beautiful thing. They last for as long as you are using them. So once you get your registered trademark, between year 5 and 6, you have to file maintenance paperwork to say, hey, we're still using it, here's proof. And then 10 years after the registration date, you have to do renewal paperwork saying, hey, we're still here. And then every 10 years after that. So as long as you're maintaining your registration, it will last as long as you're using the trademark in commerce. And we have, let's see, can you talk about descriptive terms and industry standards and trademark? Oh, descriptive term. Let's see. I'm looking at the time. Which one do I want to go first? So let's talk about descriptive terms as it relates to trademarks. So trademarks, I don't have any books with me in here. So you basically have different strengths of protection, like different trademarks, depending on what they are, have different strengths. I don't think I'm saying that. Let me say it in another way. So yeah, different levels. That's what I want to say. You have different levels. So you have generic, which is what it is, meaning that I couldn't trademark pencil for this pencil because it literally is a pencil. So that gets no trademark protection. And you have to be careful. A good example of that is the escalator. The escalator, did you know that the escalator used to be trademark until everyone started calling those moving stairs escalators? And so it became generic because it became known for the term that it is. That's why the Velcro lawyers did this beautiful skit. I think it's hilarious, about Velcro. Don't call it Velcro, call it pill and stick or something like that, because they don't want you calling everything Velcro, because Velcro is a particular brand. So you have generic. Then you have descriptive. Descriptive means that it describes a feature of that good or service, a feature of that good or service. Not only if you say something like the best darn pancakes, right? Best and like best pancake, like it's the best is describing pancakes if you are in a restaurant that sells pancakes, right? Or if it is part of your service is fast, like speedy, like something like you do something really fast. And so you're describing a feature of your service. So speedy trademark registrations, like speedy registration, or just speedy because we do fast registrations. So that describes a feature of our service. And so that's what we're talking about there. So if it describes a feature of your good, of a good or a service, it can be registered in some cases, but typically it won't be registered on the primary register. So you have two registers. You have your primary, and then you have your supplementary. Your primary is the one that they're going to presume that if it's on this one, then it's a trademark. If it's on supplementary, then if someone challenges your trademark registration, you're going to have to do some work. It's going to be on you. The burden's going to be on you as a trademark owner to prove that when people see this trademark, they actually do think of your good or services, right? So typically when you have a descriptive trademark, it's going to end up on that supplementary register. Now, I will go through the other ones at another time because we're almost out of time. I want to answer the second half of this question, or you can actually, we talk about it in a couple of different places. But if you're interested in more when it comes to like the trademarks and the copyrights, you can definitely go to MARKEDlegal and join the Own Your Genius Challenge. And we'll talk more about it there. But the second part is, what do you mean by industry standards? So sometimes in the trademark application, we receive what's called an office action from the examining attorney, because they want to know if the term that you're trying to register, is this something that's common in your industry? Like do people in your industry use this term in order to describe their goods or services or what you all are doing. Is it an industry standard? Is it something that's common? And if it is, then they're not going to let you get a trademark for it, because it's something that, even though lay people might not know what it is, everybody in the industry knows what it is. And by giving you the trademark, you're preventing people from using what's common and generic, essentially, in your industry. So that's what we mean by that. And the final question of the night. Final question. Do we have to copyright or trademark our logos also? Listen, so when I see that question, there's this Instagram or TikTok video where it says capital B, capital O, capital A, capital F, both of them, right? That's what I think of when I see that. And the reason I think about that is because if you have a logo that has a creative part to it, meaning that your logo is not just your word, like a name logo, it has some type of graphic to it, and it's original. It's not something that's just like clip art or anything like that. Like if it's literally an original piece in a fixed tangible form, you want to copyright it and you want to trademark it, because there are two different types of intellectual property. So your trademark is going to prevent other people from using that logo to identify their goods and services, right? The copyright is going to prevent people from using that logo without your permission. We don't care if they're using it to identify a good or service, or if they're putting it on a shirt, or putting it on, making frames and picture arts out of it. That's the difference of it. And then again, keep in mind that copyright is going to expire. If you just do one, the copyright expires. If you just do the trademark, what if they're not using it to identify the source of a good or a service, or anything that could cause likelihood of confusion about the source of that good or service? Maybe it's copyright infringement. If you only have the trademark, then you can have some challenges on the copyright side. So capital B, capital O, capital A, capital F, both of them. All right. Cool beans. This was great. Thank you so much for joining me tonight for Murray's Law. We are a week late. We normally do this on second Mondays. With school and everything, we pushed it back. So we will be back to our regular scheduled program in September. And if you like this, if you found it valuable and you're not in the lounge watching, if you're watching from Instagram, make sure to join us in the MARKEDlegal community, because in the future, we are just hanging out here. That's why we have this community, so that we can hang out here. And everyone that did join me, Shalene and Kimberly, thank you so much for joining me live. Have a good night.